The Industrial Revolution took place in the early to late 1800s. Before, most products were made by hand. After the revolution, this work was transitioned to machines. During the transition, while machines became prominent, the economy had lots of booms and busts. The long periods of busts were known as depressions. These were partially caused by people losing their jobs due to the machines, and the booms were in part caused by new inventions like the generator and the Bessemer steel process. The Industrial Revolution will change America forever. During the 1800s, factories expanded throughout the U.S. There were immense forests covering most of the country, as well as lots of fresh water. There were large deposits of coal, iron, copper, silver, and gold. These were used in factories as well as to fund them. As the population grew, so did the demand for supplies. Factories were built to satisfy the demand. As more efficient ways to distribute goods were created and built, such as steamboats, canals, and railroads, goods could be distributed for far less throughout the country. 14 million immigrants moved into the U.S. who knew specialized talents such as blacksmithing. New machines were able to improve the rate and efficiency of the goods produced. Investors would give startup companies money so that they could create businesses that they might not have been able to do otherwise. The government imposed several tariffs on imports, which drove people to buy from local businesses. All of these growths contributed to a countrywide economy. The economy, or business cycle, had many booms and depressions, or busts, during its time. This means that there were times of great economic state and bad economic state. Two of America's greatest depressions were the Depression of 1837 and the Depression of 1857. Because of these depressions, thousands of buildings failed and around 300 railroads failed as well. During the late 1800s, there were two Great Depressions known as panics. But even with the many booms and depressions, the industry grew tremendously as a whole. One of the biggest industries was steel. The steel industry was on a rise in the 1850s, but this cost a lot due to the consumption of coal. Coal was so expensive that when the Bessemer steel process was invented, and it used less coal, that the Bessemer steel process became one of the biggest innovations of the time. It cut the cost of coal between the year 1867 and 1900. Henry Bessemer was the one credited with this idea. Oil lamps lit most houses, so oil was a valuable resource. However, kerosene was another thing to use in these lamps. Kerosene was made from petroleum, which was gathered from the ground when it oozed up. Edwin Drake began drilling through the ground in hopes to get more petroleum. Thus, drilling for oil was created. Patents were issued to all of these inventions. Patents are things that make your invention stay yours, and so nobody can copy it. All of these changes made up the Industrial Revolution.